Hey guys, One Fit Bruja here, and today I'm back with a witchy Q&A for you guys. I said I was going to do the Come To Me oil. I think I'm going to push that out for next week. This week has just been kind of hectic, and I felt like this would be a little bit easier for me to get out this week, and plus it's fun, interesting. I like watching witchy Q&As and seeing what other witches have to say, so this is what I'm going to be doing today for this video, and if you would like to hear that, then stick around. Alright, so this video is going to consist of 10 questions. I was looking around for a Q&A that roughly only had anywhere from 10 to 15. Some of the questions they had on there I just wasn't digging, so I picked and pulled from different ones and just assembled my own. So if you guys have a YouTube channel, I'm going to be tagging some of y'all, so I'll be putting 1 through 10 of the questions into the description box below, so watch out. I'm probably going to tag someone that I would like to hear this from. So stay tuned for the end of the video for that. So the first question is, how long have you been practicing? And I've actually been researching and reading about witchcraft ever since I was little, ever since elementary school basically. But physically practicing the craft, it's only been roughly 2.5 years. I used to go to the library when I was little. I used to pick out books on ancient Egypt and their folklore and magics and their old magic that they used to do. I love reading books like that, and also astrology, anything to do with outer space, especially the planets. I loved learning about the planets and how they correlated with the zodiac signs and all that stuff. I've been attracted to those sorts of things for my entire life. And when I was little, I used to pick little herbs and grass and flowers from outside when I was at recess, and I would get a little bottle of water or some juice and I'd throw them all together and make a potion. And I'd had my own little tiny book of spells that I wrote up, and I would put little herbs and stuff in there. I would glue them in there when I was supposed to be doing other things in class, but instead I would be doing that. And I don't know, it's just something I've always done. Magic is something I've always been interested in, and anything to do with like paranormal and mythological creatures was always something that I found interesting. But as I got older and more different people coming in and out of my life have, manipulated my mindset on it a little bit. So I kind of steered away from that and went into the norm for a while and lost myself a little bit, to say. But recently, not too long ago, I ended up picking that back up, and I was like, I think this just needs to happen. This is what I'm leaning towards the most, and nothing else interests me as far as the norm goes, as far as, having a regular job or working a corporate job or something like that. That's not interesting to me. I find practicing my magic and creating these things so much more amazing, and I'd love to incorporate that into my life and as a paying job rather than, being a personal trainer, which I have done and it didn't fulfill me. This is what I'm leaning towards. This is something that I feel passionate about, that I deeply believe in. Yeah, that hit the spot. Ginger and turmeric. Bomb. Frickin' bomb. Alright, next question. Do you prefer magic with others or by yourself? It depends. If we're on the same page magic-wise, then yeah, that'd be great. Because then I know you're going to take it seriously and I'm going to take it seriously, and it's going to mesh very well and will manifest what we both want into reality. If we're not on the same page, then I feel like it's gonna weaken the connection and we're not gonna get what we want out of it, so we need to connect. We need to connect deeply. So for the most part, I like to practice by myself, but there are a few witches that I would practice with, and I have, and I felt like those connections were good, and I would like to do that again. So, but for the most part, I am solitary, and I like to practice on my own. What is your sun, moon, and rising sign? I'm just over here looking like an alcoholic. Like if you really didn't know what I was drinking, it just looked like I'm drinking beer. I mean, I guess there is a sliver of alcohol in this, but I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. But anyways, my sun, moon, rising. So my sun sign is Capricorn, and my moon sign is Scorpio, and my rising sign is Taurus. I could very well be a psychopath. Next question, we're on number 4 now. Do you come from a witchy family? Do you feel bloodline is important or it doesn't matter? I feel like a lot of other witches would say yes, because if you're hereditary, you're gonna be more powerful, you're gonna be more stronger, the magic's gonna be more authentic. I feel like it doesn't matter, honestly. And that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to start no witchy riot, but I feel like your magic is own, your magic is what you make it. I feel like most witches operate off of their intuition, because even if you were from a hereditary bloodline of witches, someone from one point in time, years ago, would have had to have figured all these things out by themselves, put all those herbs, used this candle, and used such and such. They made all that up themselves based off of how they felt. These herbs, that candle, that piece of cloth, ribbon, twine, whatever, was going to help them and make what they needed manifest into reality. Someone else figured all that out for you, and from there on, you manipulated it and used it to keep bringing these things into your life. And it's been passed down, which is great, which is fantastic that you have that base to start from, and the knowledge has been passed on, and you don't have to figure everything out on your own. I had to figure everything out on my own. I don't have family to tell me these things, and I'm not even really sure if there is any witches in my bloodline, but I feel like sometime along the road there was a few. I think there is a few. That's just how I feel about it. That's my gut feeling. That's not based off of like knowledge that I know. I feel like your magic is your own. Like, you can take from different cultures and make it into your own magic. And that's what I believe. I'm an eclectic witch. I take from different places. I take from different cultures, like hoodoo, brujeria, Arabic. I like to mix these things all together. Those are types of magic that I feel that are strong, gypsy magic, things like that. And even some like Celtic magic, Norwegian magic, I like to study them all. I like to find bits and pieces and put them together and make them into my own. And that's just how I feel, and that's what I've been doing, and it works for me. So I feel like it doesn't matter. Your bloodline, your heritage doesn't matter, because you are magic. Moving on to number 5. Do you feel like you have natural gifts? I want to say that I do. Especially the one. The other one I'm not too sure about, but let me mention the one. I feel like I'm a strong clairsentient. Sometimes things happen, let's say the car broke down. I know jack shit about cars. I mean, I know like a bare minimum. For some reason, when no one else can figure it out, I'm over here looking up options and stuff, and all of a sudden I get a really strong opinion about one thing that I think is absolutely wrong. This has to be it. Like, I know it's it without researching into depth any longer. And I'm like, hey, I think this is wrong. Nobody believes me, of course, because, you know, if you're a Capricorn, you know how this goes. Earth signs, it doesn't matter what you think, but you usually end up being right. So, here we go. So, and of course, you know how to fix it. It happens. I know how to fix it. If you're a clairsentient, this has most likely happened to you numerous times throughout your life. Almost on a daily freaking basis, even more than once a day. Like, you just know. You have no explanation of why you know, but you know. But I think it has something to do with your past life. I think you've experienced all these things before, numerous times, numerous past lives, and it's just stored in there and ready to go, ready for use. Regardless if you've practiced that, like when you were younger or whatever, doesn't matter. It's just still stored in there because your soul has been recycled so many times that you've picked up all these talents and gifts. That's happened to me quite a bit, and I end up being right. Nobody knows why, but yeah. And I had another one. It had something. It was kind of like a premonition, I want to say, but this happened when I was really little, and I think I was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. I was sitting in the store, in the toy aisle, because you know when you're little you're like, I'm gonna go to the toys and just run right back there real quick. So I was over there, I think I was sitting on a shelf, I don't know exactly what I was doing, but I kind of spaced out and was looking towards the end of the aisle, and I imagined a man walking by, looking back and forth, looking kind of confused. I imagined his clothes, his face, exactly how he would look like, every detail. I kept waiting. I think a minute went by. A weird haze kind of came around right here, like a foggy kind of haze. And then all of a sudden this guy just appears, looking back and forth, looking confused, exactly the same way that I imagined him, every little detail. And I was like, what the hell? I don't know, I was young, I didn't think too much of it, but I thought it was strange. I was like, that was kind of weird. I was like, should I tell my mom? I was like, nah, she ain't gonna believe me anyways. You know, when you're little, your moms never believe you. So I let that slide, but that's happened a few times when I was younger. And I think it's because when you're younger, you're more sensitive to these things. And now that I've gotten older, I've suppressed them, sadly. I mean, I'm working on getting them back up, but I feel like I was a lot more sensitive to those kinds of things when I was younger. So it's still in there somewhere. I just need to bring it to the surface. You know what I mean? Yeah, strong, clairsentient for sure. The other one I'm working on. Also, to feed off of that last question, I feel like, I don't know if this would be any sort of like, you know, a magical gift, but I'm rather good at reading people's, you know, mannerisms and their personalities to know if I want to keep them in my life. Often than not, it makes me come off as shallow and bitchy. I usually know what you want from me before you can even say a word a lot of the times. I know it's making me sound kind of cocky, but this is just things that have happened to me throughout my life and that I've realized that that's what I do to keep myself safe. And it can be really judgmental and really critical. But more often than not, my best friend has noticed that I am right. Almost every time I say, hey, don't be hanging around that guy, he only wants one thing from you. And she'll keep hanging around that guy. And she'll end up texting me later, and guess what? You were right. She's the only one I know that will actually tell me that I'm right. Besides maybe one other person in my life, but it's more often than not, I'm usually right about this. It's very slim chance that I'm wrong about someone that I read. So there's also that. I'm very good at reading people, so just to add that in there. Moving on to number 6. What deities do you work with and why? So some of you probably already know, if you watch my videos, that I work with Ganesh as my male energy. Ganesh is something that has been coming out at me for the past year. I kept putting it off, and the signs were obvious. I don't know about you, but I'm highly attracted to that culture. Like, I feel really connected to them, even though I have, as far as I know, my bloodline, that I don't come from Indian descent. So, but Ganesh kept calling to me, and I kept putting it off, thinking, nah, maybe not. Maybe it's just something I want, and you know, I overthought this a lot, and I kept putting it off for months. It took me almost a freaking year to accept that, hey, he's like, I want to work with you. So I'm gonna tell you about some of the signs that kept popping up. So I don't know if you guys watch Bollywood movies. They're really happy, upbeat Indian movies, and they are one of my favorite types. Like, I watch them almost every day. I will watch one movie if I have time. When I'm off, usually is when I binge watch these movies because I love them so much, and I just love the culture so much. And of course, that culture, one of their deities is Ganesh. Kept popping up recently from back to back to back from some of these movies that I've watched, like every single one. And that wasn't happening before. And then he started popping up as like illustrations when I was out and about. And I went to the grocery store, and in the car that let me cross, slowed down and let me cross, had a giant Ganesh decal on the top of the hood. And I was like, I don't know how much more of a sign I need, I guess. I'm like, this is happening, it's happening. Yeah. So I started working with Ganesh. So yeah, that's how I started working with him. I love working with Ganesh. His energy is great. It's upbeat and he holds a lot of power. He's one of the best deities you could work with, honestly. My female energy, which I use a lot, comes from, and as I was saying before, that I am highly interested in ancient Egyptian magic. Like, that intrigues me so much. This has been a goddess that I was interested in ever since I was a little girl. And her name is Bast. She has the cat head, and she is a very, very powerful female Egyptian goddess. And her energy is just magnificent. It's off the hook. I love working with her. I'll have to give you guys an altar tour one of these days so you can see how it looks over there and what I have for them. Her energy has never steered me wrong. She's given me visions. She's infiltrated my dreams. She's always led me in the right direction. Even if I don't talk to her for a while, she's forgiving, but she will harp on you. She will harp on you for not contacting her when she knew you needed help. I'm one of those people who doesn't like asking for help a lot. She knows this. She's very independent herself, but she knows how I work because it's similar to her how she would work. She was one of the best goddesses to work with. So Bast for sure, because she showed up pretty much everywhere ever since I was little up till now. So she was the first energy that I actually gravitated towards, was her, and then Ganesh followed. And also probably related to some sort of past life, because I feel strongly connected with the two and their cultures. So yeah. Number 7, what is your favorite magical tool? All right, so this one was actually kind of tough. I was debating for a while when I was writing these questions down what that would be. I'm gonna have to say my cauldron, which sounds really typical, and a lot of witches have said this, but you do get a lot of usage out of your cauldron, especially if you are performing magic. I use my cauldron a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna go with my cauldron. Cauldron's a good choice. Number 8, do you have a familiar? And yes, I do. I have a little sweetie pie, Russian blue. Her name is Alia. I have 10,000 nicknames for her. If you hear me say biddies or bits or beetloaf or something weird like that, that's my familiar. The names, you're probably like, why are you calling your cat Beetloaf? Well, you know how when cats gain a little bit of weight, she's not obese or anything, but she's a little heavier. You know how they tuck their little paws into their chest and they lay on it, and the fat kind of like spills around them, and she just looks like a little meatloaf or something. And then the other name that I would call her would be Beats, because she likes to pound on my door in the middle of the night, and I was like, she's making beats with her paws, and then it turned into Beat Loaf because she looked like a meatloaf and she makes beats. Okay, it's all over the place. Now you know, Beat Loaf. So yeah, she's my little Russian blue familiar, and she loves sitting underneath my altar or just sitting right next to the side. I have like some storage drawers that I keep right next to my altar, and she loves sitting on those and just watching me work my magic. So yeah. Number 9, what was your first successful spell? My first successful spell was actually a money spell. We needed some money to make ends meet for rent. So I took my green candle, made my own anointing oil for it. I didn't have much. Power within me was strong, because I was like, we need to make ends meet. Like, there's no other way. As soon as I lit this candle, the flame hit the wax. I got a phone call from my husband saying, where did this $400 come from? $400 is just in our joint all of a sudden, just magically appeared. And I was like, well, he's like, did you do the money spell? And I was like, fuck yeah, I did the money spell. I just lit that bitch. He was like, oh my god, no fucking way. But this is the key though. I'm sorry, I'm gonna babble a little bit, but he put forth actions prior to me doing this spell, like about a year ago. We were waiting for money from a company to come through, and it finally came through, and that spell manifested that into real life. We were also working hard physically at our jobs to bring more money in. You can't just expect to do a love spell or a money spell and do that without changing anything in your life, it's not gonna work. It can for subtle changes, I suppose, because you are putting that energy out there. But if you want big changes, big money moves, then you need to put yourself out there. You need to work hard. Same with those love spells. If you want to keep your husband around or your loved one around, and you've noticed things aren't like the way they before, you need to take a good long look at yourself and realize that you fell off the bandwagon, that you haven't been doing these things for each other, and that's why it's going to shit. Same thing with attracting money into your life. You need to figure out different ways to manifest that money into your life. You can't just do the magic and expect it to change everything. And we both know that. I mean, my husband doesn't practice magic, and it's actually kind of hard for him to believe in it most of the time, but he lets me do my thing. That made his head spin around. So yeah, that was my first successful one. It actually gave us the exact amount that we needed to get by for our rent. We were missing that $400. I actually asked for more because I burned a petition, but in reality I didn't need that much more. That money that I needed was just enough, and that's all I needed, and the universe knew that. So yeah, money spell. We are finally on number 10, and number 10 is, do you do past life readings? Who were you and how did you die in a past life? I do past life readings, but I do them for myself. I don't do them on other people. I mean, I can give you tips and whatnot on how to do these and have them be successful for you, because I've done it a handful of times and I've had great results. So who were you and how did you die? Okay, I have a couple that were based in BC Egyptian times, and I've also had one that came through in a dream. I'm going to tell you about the ones in past life meditation. I've done past life meditation twice, and these ones were a long time. I was meditating for 3 hours for the first one, I want to believe, and the second one was 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But the first one that I had come through was, I was around the same age, maybe a little bit younger. I was in Egypt, BCE times. I was pointing out a window. My hair was cut around here, braided. My skin was darker. I want to say it was more like on a brown paper bag, kind of dark. Maybe somewhat lighter, but it was pretty close to that kind of color. I had dark brown eyes, per usual, for now. Facial features actually weren't too much different, honestly. I looked almost the same as I did now, which kind of freaked me out. And I had a gold head dressing, and I had a lot of nice jewelry on, and I had a really nice like gold and cloth looking dress. I was pointing out this window. I couldn't hear anything I was saying. I looked like I was talking to somebody because I looked back and I was talking, and I looked happy and excited, like, hey, look at this. And I was pointing out the window towards pyramids being built, and there's a lot of workers with camels and hauling up supplies. People had things on their backs, like climbing up these steps, trying to get all these supplies to the top to keep working. I felt like I was pretty well off, or that I was related to someone who was, and I had some sort of say-so on what was being built. I'm not too sure. And then that's all I got from that one before I went back out of it. That was pretty cool. It was amazing. Like, it felt amazing. Like, you couldn't feel yourself being inside your body. You felt like you were out, like hovering around, third person, kind of like watching some sort of movie, but you couldn't feel yourself in your vessel anymore. You were just out hovering around watching this happen. It was the strangest feeling. And the same thing happened on my other past life meditation. Once again in Egypt. And I was actually a male. I was a dude. Yeah. A really, really dark dude. Like Ethiopian dark. And I was built, I was tall, and I had a sword, I had a shield, and I was dressed like I was going to go into combat. And I was, once again, couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear voices or anything. I couldn't hear sounds around me, but I could see everything that was happening. And it looked like I was telling my platoon or my army to get ready because we're gonna go into battle. And the last thing I saw from that was, it was a drastic clip change. It just got cut and we were running and there's a lot of dust and dirt and you could barely see in front of yourself. And I was running and I saw someone like in the air going back with a really big spear, like coming down on me. And I was going in. I wasn't scared. I didn't feel scared anyways. And I think that's how I died in that one. As when I was a female, I have no idea what happened with that one. So I know for sure I had a more strong, like dreadful feeling that that's how I died as far as when I was a male in my past life. Those are really old past lives though. I feel like the one I had come to me in a dream was a little more recent, but still pretty old. I felt like this one was more Persian or India or some sort of Arabic time, like really old back in the day kind of time. And I was running down some hallways and they were really dimly lit, and I was just running really fast and I could hear jingling. I was really wearing like a really nice Indian style wrapped dress, and it was like orange pink and it was lined in gold. I had a lot of bangles on. I could feel like earrings, and I had a really long braid. I could see it flapping around when I was running. I was running fast underground. I was running underground through some tunnels really fast. Like I think I was trying to escape something, or someone was trying to come after me. And I got to a split. In the split, I was running straight and the split went off to the right this way. This way was not lit and it smelled musky and damp, like no one's been down there for a long time. And there was only one torch on the wall right where the split was. And apparently I had to make a decision, like go down the path that is lit, keep going, or go to the right where most people don't go. And I also found right at that split, I looked down and I was breathing hard and I was staring at my feet. I had no shoes on. I was super tan. I was pretty dark once again. I had bangles on my ankles, and I remember staring at my feet for a minute. And then I saw these two tarot cards that were flipped over. And I reached down, picked them up, and then turned them over and started looking at them. I can barely make out the images, but it was kind of old, kind of tattered looking cards, like someone was using these for a long time. And it had like that cultural text on them too from that time. Like it looked like it was from their culture. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was trying to remember when I woke up, like what the fuck? But I had a strong sense that I was gonna go down the path where nobody went, because I felt like the other one was too lit, and that if I went down that path, everyone would find me. And I remember just putting my arm down to my side, holding the cards, and I was still pretty tired, and I was freaking out because I wouldn't be able to see anything if I went down that path. But it felt like in the end that would have been the right choice. So I turned and I was gonna go down the path, and then I woke up, and that was pretty crazy. I didn't feel like I could feel everything when I was running through that tunnel. I could feel the cobblestone on my feet, the brick or whatever, the ground, the dirt. I could feel my breath leaving my chest and having it feel hard to breathe. I can smell the musk and the dampness and feel the cold like on my skin. It was the weirdest sensation. So yeah, those are sounds all pretty crazy, I know, but that's what happened when and thanks to Bast, that's how I found out one of those past lives. And the tarot thing, I'm still trying to decipher like what that meant, like trying to read those cards. I'm trying to remember all that. I think it had something to do with making a decision though. Like I needed to make an abrupt decision to change, or else I was going to repeat something that I didn't want to repeat. I think that's what it meant. That's what I've come to for now, but I'm still constantly thinking about it, even though I've had that dream a little while ago. But yeah, it's just one of those ones that make you think. And I know for sure that was one of those past life ones because it felt too real, if you know what I mean. So yeah. So that is it for today's video, and I'm gonna tag some of y'all in it, and hopefully you guys do these Q&As. I would love to hear what some of you guys have to say. So I'm gonna tag a new witch that I've recently followed that I get some very nice vibes from. I'm gonna tag Jennifer, the taxidermy witch, and I'm gonna tag the Lady Grave Dancer, and who else? One more person. I feel like 3 would be a good number. And I'll tag the Holly Witch.